What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Than Love podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my co-host with me, Jay Bavo. What's up, Jay?
What's good, Terry? Getting ready for another good great show here tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to chopping it up tonight. Tonight, we're going to just be kind of talking about the dating game or the dating world in general. Tonight's topic is dating ain't fair, but it's balanced. So we'll be kind of addressing the pros and cons from a male and female perspective on today's dating world. But before we get into that, we like to start the podcast off with the segment that we call Terry's Top 3. And this is where we highlight or we elaborate on 3 of the most popular or most controversial posts from my Instagram page at Terry Duran. Now this post, it really wasn't a whole lot, but it was such a teachable moment that I wanted to be able to speak about it, and without just necessarily talking about the topic at hand. The situation was Nicki Minaj had Joe Budden on her podcast. And to talk about some grievances or some problems she had with him. So let's take a look.
When they can't respond, and when you like tearing down women when they can't defend themselves. You like tearing down women when you can try to end their career because low key you jealous of their success, right? Right? Boom. Boom. Stupid. Boom. I don't fucking care.
This is great.
I don't fucking care.
Can I respond?
No, we on to the next.
So it was I couldn't even get through the whole interview because I personally hate dysfunctional conversations or arguments like that.
Right.
But it was such a teachable moment because it highlights what men deal with every day. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see how Joe Budden was handling it, can I respond? Can I talk? Are you gonna allow me to speak? Like when you're trying to play that rational role in a woman that now she did multiple things that I consider to be relationship killing behavior. Because if you dating a quality man, eventually this is gonna push him away from you, right? So
yeah, I mean, I don't think you can see that she was obviously emotional about it and everything.
Well, that's cool. That's okay.
It was one of those. It was emotional out, but I don't even. It doesn't seem like okay. She was trying to have him there so to get a rational answer or see what he really thinks. It was go on this emotional outburst. I don't think he was going to go in there and say something. And it was going to be like, man, Joe Budden's really told her, or Joe Budden's really told her something. I don't think that was the point of that.
Well, see that's also something that I wanted to point out. Like, as somebody, when you have a media platform and you invite somebody on to speak on your platform, it's your responsibility to give them the opportunity to at least speak. Like the only time that you should cut off somebody's mic or something to that effect is if they're being rude and not giving you the opportunity to speak, or they've been disrespectful, right? Like remember back when we used to do blog talk, there were times where I would have to mute somebody's mic because they wouldn't allow me to speak, or they would do what men typically experience. They interrupt you as soon as you start talking. Like even if you should sit there and quietly allow them to express their complete thought. When you have to rebut or you get the opportunity to speak, oftentimes what men deal with is the woman goes on an emotional rant like Nicki did, where she's blurting out her perspective on a situation, her feelings on a situation, what she thinks about what she feels happened, and her perspective is, I don't give a fuck what you have to say, nothing's gonna change my opinion. Which Nicki stated in the end, I don't give a fuck. Like, so it's like, so what's the point in having a discussion then? If you don't give a fuck, if you don't want to hear what I have to say, why'd you spend all that time expressing your rant? Like, so this is the ineffective communication.
But for all that, why even have him on why even have him on the show? You could have just said all that. Why he wasn't even there?
Yeah, I mean, well, man, it don't matter it doesn't, for some women, anything you do, they will make it like you're attacking them, you're bashing women, you coming for them. Like, look how she started off. You like to attack women. You like to bring women down. You like to, like, come on. Somebody that has a talk show, giving their opinion on something you do or your music, that's not tearing. You want to tear down a woman, like, because you're jealous of her success. Like, this is where they go on rants. They throw out assumptions and shit that makes them look stupid or makes them look like they're on an emotional rant. And it's up to the man to decide whether he wants to spend the time and energy even attempting to try to correct all the drama, all the inaccuracies. Like, I deal with this in my comments all the time. You know what I mean? Terry, you're a sexist. You hate women. You this and that. And it's like, okay, first of all, sexist. You know, like I'm
right.
Take the time, but only because other people are gonna read the exchange. Like on a situation like this, like I commend Joe for not disrespecting her, going off or making it something that it is, but the only time that a man really even has to have that kind of conversation is when it's your woman. And those are the type of behaviors that make a man stop trying to make the relationship work. You know what I mean? Like real talk. Like when you see the way that women were supporting it. Now there were a lot of women, I will admit, that were talking about how bad she made herself look, how dumb she looked. All she did was yell. You know what I mean? Then she turned off his mic. You know what I mean? Like well, damn.
Right.
So you just want to be able to vent and voice your opinion, but then you don't want to hear the male opinion. Sounds very familiar, right? Women complaining about my page giving the male perspective when there are countless pages that give the female perspective about men. You know what I mean? It's the exact same behavior. Nikki has no problem taking several minutes to express her thoughts and feelings, but won't even give him a few seconds to be able to clarify her inaccuracies or give his perspective on the topic. You can never have an effective communication like that. You can go viral. You can have a podcast that gets talked about from doing it, but imagine what it's like. Like it made me think, I wonder what her relationship is like with her fiance, who's not famous, who's not rich, who really can't influence really anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what happens when they have a disagreement? You know what I mean? Like, does he get to tell her no? Does she not get to get her way? Come on. It'd be very interesting to see how this is gonna play out. But we'll see. You know what I mean? Like that type of behavior that was exhibited in the interview was so, you know, reflective of what men experience that I just wanted to talk about that aspect of it, not whether or not his criticism of her was too harsh or unfair. Like, somebody's opinion of your music is their opinion, you know what I'm saying? Like, but
right,
that has nothing to do with your behavior, especially somebody that's almost 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, was she 37 now? Like, come on, man, that's toxic behavior. All right, let's keep it moving. This next post that I wanted to talk about, this is one of those pandering posts that I got sent. So the post says, "Sis, you're beautiful. You aren't hard to love. You aren't too much or extra. He's just too less of a man to understand. You're too greater of a woman. Do not settle for those who manipulate your identity and peace." Now, this type of nonsense it gets eaten up by a lot of women. You know, anytime a quote praises all women, absolve all women from any fault or culpability in the demise of or the failure of a relationship, anything that paints the man as the problem gets overwhelmingly supported by a very large percentage of women. So these type of posts go viral all the time, especially when the person posting it has millions of followers or several 100,000 followers, etc.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it regurgitates stuff that women already think and feel.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty cliche. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Man, you can make a living off cliches. You know what I'm saying?
You absolutely can. I mean, we see there's plenty of, YouTubers, you know, or social media people, you know, that say these cliches that pander to women.
Yeah, I mean, it's very popular, man. Like, but the problem is a lot of women can't tell the difference between somebody genuinely helping them or attempting to help them, somebody giving them real criticism, and bashing and attacking them. You know what I mean? Like that.
What I think that's the thing, like with the criticism, women don't want to hear criticism. Like, you know, and not all women, but some don't like criticism.
Not some, most. Most. That's an overwhelming most. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can damn near say almost all. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an overwhelming percentage of women that feel that way.
Right. I mean, you know, I guess, you know, we live in a society that doesn't hold women accountable for their actions.
Well, I mean,
even
that's
think
true.
It was so like Martin, right? You know, a woman will come on the show 2-3 times. The guy's not the father, but you know they won't hold accountable. Like, what's going on here? Why you keep bringing all these men on? You can't seem to find who the baby's father is. You know,
well,
they kind of
you already know a woman in that situation. You can already infer what her situation is. You know what I mean? Like, but you're right. That's the extreme. That don't really represent the average woman. But you're right. A woman doesn't have to pay attention to how or what a man says, or she doesn't have to conform to anything. But if your goal is to have a healthy relationship, you do. Just the same way men have to conform to making their wife happy or making it work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have compromises. And so a woman that's unwilling to do that is never going to have a healthy relationship. You can have a relationship where you're the rich one, you're the powerful one, you're the famous one, and anything you say goes. But that don't necessarily translate to happiness from the male perspective. That don't translate to loyalty. That don't translate to longevity. You know what I mean? But these type of... Anytime you have women that are unwilling to listen to anything, like we just talked about with Nikki, a woman that is not willing to accept any type of criticism, any type of feedback that she's not happy with, then you just want a bunch of yes people around you that's going to tell you that you're right, that's going to tell you yes sis, that's going to give you a bunch of emojis and support anything you do. So what happens when you're doing something that's self-destructive? What happens when you're doing something that's going to hurt you in the long run? If you don't have nobody around you that can check you or tell you when you fucking up, what happens? You know what I mean? Like, what happens then? If you are in a position where you don't allow anybody to criticize anything you say, I said what I said, I did what I did, don't tell me nothing, I don't care. Like, if that's your attitude, then how can you have a healthy relationship with anybody? A person that has options is not going to deal with that.
Absolutely. Oh, you hear you need to check me as I am, flaws and all. That's a lot of stuff. And how many times do we hear that?
Man, I mean, well, we all have conditions that we expect to be met when it comes to our relationships. Absolutely. So you can accept a person as they come into the relationship, but once you discuss expectations, values, you know what I'm saying, like those type of conversations that you should be having throughout the dating phase, it should be very clear what the expectations are for each people and whether or not the person is willing to meet them. You know what I mean? Like, so unfortunately, a lot of people don't effectively date, so they don't get that information before they already committed, but that's a whole different discussion. Let's shift gears, man. This is another topic that I find myself talking about over and over again. This is a post that said, why do men pretend to really like a woman and then change once they start having sex? Now, there are fuckboys out there that take pride in just being able to fuck a chick and dump her, fuck her in one time and cut it off. But I don't think that represents a large percentage of men. Most men, if they take the time to shoot their shot at a woman, communicate with her, and put himself in a position to fuck her, he wants to fuck her as many times as possible. Like, not just a solo dolo. The only time that a man kind of has a solo experience is, it may be if he's doing some dirt. He's cheating on his girl, so he just wanted to do something for the sake of doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he doesn't
Right.
enjoy it.
Well, I mean, what my question is, what exactly is making him, making him think he likes her? Like, what exactly is that? And you guys, because that's subjective. Now, if they're saying why is the man deceptive, I think the better word for it is why is he so deceptive?
Yeah, I mean,
is what he has said, because that's what that sounds like. It sounds like, okay, guys deceiving him, but I would, you would need to explain what that is, because sometimes even that's subjective at times.
right. Well, and see, that's the part that kind of gets ignored in this conversation is how drastically women change after they start having sex, and that's a direct result of the value women place on sex, the unspoken expectations they place with sex, and all these other type of things, right? So all these unexpected, these expectations that they have of a man that they fucking, if a man haven't agreed to those things, it's going to create a problem. It's going to create tension.
Right.
It's going to make being around you unpleasant.
Right. I mean, even you could say a woman did, because you could say, okay, you deal with a woman. Well, how y'all meet? Let's just say, okay, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. I'm not looking for anything serious right now. And you can say, oh, I'm looking at sex and that's it. If she agrees to that, a lot of times there's a lot of situations where women agree to that, and then after you start having sex, or you start hanging out, spending more time, whatever the case may be, and she starts catching feelings, and it's like, oh well, what is this? Where are we going? How many times has that happened?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of confusion can come once people catch feelings and how they handle catching feelings. There's really no right way to handle it. A lot of women struggle with rejection, or what they perceive to be rejection. Somebody telling you that they don't want a relationship at that particular moment is not the same thing as being completely rejected. But that's how a lot of women will treat it. They'll cut off sex, block you, completely cut off communication with you, and then they won't even allow the situation to continue to develop where it could have been a relationship or something more significant. You know what I mean? Like, so it's all a reflection of how that person feels or perceives that situation. Let's keep it moving. Let's take a quick break. And then we can get into tonight's topic, where tonight we are talking about dating ain't fair, but it's balanced. We'll be talking about the pros and cons of today's dating world from a male and female perspective. You are listening to the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in a moment. You have everything it takes to become an effective dater. I've simplified the entire process for you. All you need to do is make some adjustments to your approach to learn how you're supposed to date by downloading the Terry Duran Dating Compatibility Guide. It's available for only $1.50 exclusively at terryduranbooks.com. All right, everybody, welcome back. You're tuning in to the More Than Love podcast, and tonight we are talking about dating ain't fair, but it's balanced. We are breaking down the pros and cons of the dating world from a male and a female perspective. So I put together a little chart of some pros and cons that at least the way that I view things. And we'll just put them out there and discuss them a little bit and elaborate. So we're going to start with the pros for the women. One of the pros in today's world, in the dating world for women, is they have the ability to leverage their beauty and their sexual desire they generate from it. So they can leverage that into dates, attention, and potentially sex, love, etc. So women are able to get a whole lot of interaction and a whole lot of things from men with things that are given to them naturally. They don't have to pay for a pussy. They don't have to pay to be attractive to men. So that is definitely a plus for the women. Number 2, they can get sex on demand from men, regardless of their attitude, financial, or relationship status. A woman can be broke, have a bad attitude, and have a boyfriend and still get dick on demand on the side whenever she wanted it. So that's something that a lot of men are envious of when it comes to women in the dating world. But that puts women in a position to be able to leverage it or leverage sex and romance for money and other things. And the third thing that I would say is a positive for women is they don't have to spend their time and money pursuing men, shooting their shot at men, or facing a possibility of rejection. So those would be three solid, positive, definite cons for what women get to experience in today's dating world. What you think, Jay?
Nah, I think it's definitely on point, especially the sex part. You know, like they say, women are the gatekeepers when it comes to sex. So
Absolutely.
she could get it once she wants. It don't matter. She can go and she can go to a bar club, but any kind of public setting. You can go to the mall and find somebody that'll give it to you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's something that a lot of women probably just they don't have the proper context on. You know what I mean? Because they don't view sex the way that men do. And they don't have to put in the work to get sexual attention, people making sexual advances, etc., unless the woman's just not attractive. The only women that can relate to that are women that men are really not looking for. You know what I mean? The women that men don't find attractive.
I mean, hell, even the ones that aren't attractive, I mean, they can still get sex somewhere.
That's very true.
Maybe not as big a market for as saying, the attractive woman, but nonetheless, it's still some kind of market.
Very true. I agree with that. All right, so now let's switch it over to the fellas. What are some pros for the fellas in today's dating world? Number one, men are able to consistently find women that are willing to give them time, attention, and sex. Almost irregardless of his financial status, physical appearance, etc. Just about every man that pays attention to women and adapts to what it takes to attract women can consistently get time, attention, and sex from women. So that's definitely a plus for the men that are willing to put in the work and evolve or adapt to their strengths and weaknesses and the dating climate. Number two, men can have sex with no expectations or emotional attachments. That it's kind of a catch-22. It can make you insensitive or end up hurting some people's feelings, but from a casual dating perspective, that's a great thing to have. You're not always in your feelings. You're not always heartbroken if a dating situation don't turn into happily ever after, etc. So it helps men avoid a lot of heartbreak and disappointment. And then the third thing that I wrote was positive is men can use other things besides looks and money to make themselves more attractive to women. And give themselves a better shot at being successful. You can be a great communicator. You can be funny. You can be very fit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have other things besides just being cute. You know what I'm saying? To go in your favor. Those are definitely three positives that I would say that the guys dating in today's world have as pros. But I could. It's easy to list pros for men. I could list the ability, how desperate women are to get in relationships, etc. So I just stopped at three, but it was very easy to come up with things for the guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely agree. Especially the part with the communicator part. Being a good communicator. I mean, I think that's half the battle. Being effective.
That was always my strength.
That could definitely take you a long way, as opposed to just having money and not being an effective communicator. Because, you have a lot of people that have money and will try to use money to compensate for, a lack of game.
Yeah, I mean, that's money is very effective. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
But like you said,
I think, and I think for a man, they're confident. A lot of men's confidence lies in their money. They're in a better finance. They're more confident if they're in a better finance as opposed to not being in the best of financial situation.
But you're right. I mean, the men that are not wealthy, the men that are not sport athletes or not famous, the ones that have to attract women by their personality and their one-on-one interactions, those are generally the men that do have better conversations. They probably do ask better questions. They probably do pay more attention to you because of the skill and effort that they've been having to use to be successful. That they had to have skill to make you even want to be interested in them. you didn't have to have any skill to attract them. And that's kind of like the biggest difference between men and women. Men are the ones that generally have to put it forth the initial energy and effort. You know what I mean? Like to get the process started. Like they're the spark plug of the dating situation.
Most of the time, it's a man approaching a woman as opposed to a woman approaching a man.
Right. You know, I mean, and most men are perfectly fine with that because that they're not trying to be out the game. They're not trying to be in a situation where they don't have any female companionship. You know what I mean? Like, so that risk that you may be rejected or that she may not be interested, that's the worst thing that can happen. You get over that pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have no emotional attachment to it, if you not falling in love with a chick just because you thought she was cute. You know what I mean? Like, those are the type of things that you see from guys that may be lame or may not be that successful with women. You know what I mean? But let's flip the switch. Let's talk about some of the negatives in today's dating world. So for the ladies, some of the negatives, they have a limited amount of influence on whether a man commits to or marries them. So based off their position in the dating world, they not shooting their shot, they not initiating, the dating process. So they have less influence. They have to deal with a higher percentage of people that they are uninterested in. You know what I mean? Like, so simply because their role, they sit back and allow men to shoot their shot at them. Number two, this probably should have been number one, but women are impacted a lot more severely by the consequences of sex than men are. You know, pregnancies, emotional attachments, reputation, all these type of things. So with casually dating or just dating in general can have a much more adverse impact on a woman than for most men. And then the third thing is women only desire a very small percentage of men, and the men that they really, really want, that have the credentials they really, really like, have very little incentive to settle down, or they're already taken. So those are three really big negatives for women. But like it was very easy to come up with more positives for men, it was pretty easy to come up with more things that I could have added to the negative list. Women struggle with identifying or differentiating between quality men and fuckboys. That would be a real big problem for women in today's dating age. I could mention online dating, how gullible or how easy it is to impress women online. So there are a bunch of things that make it difficult for women.
Right. I think all that ties into effective dating. So I think, a lot of this content, women aren't dating effectively here.
Yeah.
They're looking at the, I think, a lot of what happens is a lot of times they get more caught up in the emotional attachment of it.
Or how they benefit from the dating situation or the relationship.
Right.
Because a lot of women date with an agenda like that. I want a man that can pay all my bills. I want a man that I can go on vacation. Like there are a lot of people that date with agendas that don't necessarily align with having a healthy relationship.
I mean, sometimes it could just be based on novelty factors as well.
True. I mean, it's a combination of things, but you can tell what a person's motives for being in a relationship are when things are difficult or there's real conflict. When the money stops flowing, when things hit a rough patch, you can see how a person handles things and how willing they are to put their resources in the middle of the table to help everybody out. If they have a kind of a selfish mentality towards their spouse or their partner. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about that I identified as being negative for men in today's dating world, and this is something that I could definitely relate to. The more money a man makes, the more kids in marriage pose a risk for him. So the way that it's set up now, the more successful you are, the better it is for you to stay single. You know what I mean? Like, so unless a woman links up with the man when he's young in his 20s, like my wife did, and you build with him, it's gonna be very difficult to get a dude that has the type of income that most women want, lives the type of lifestyle, drive the kind of cars, like that. The type of men that actually genuinely live the kind of lifestyle these women want to be a part of, man, they don't look at marriage and settling down the way that your grandfather did. You know what I mean? Like the way divorce law and child support and alimony, like for a lot of guys, it's better for them to not ever get you accustomed to living off of his income and just casually date you until you decide to cut it off or do otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, and that's harsh. That's a brutal reality, but it's real. So that would definitely be one of the biggest points that I get from the men that women want to be with. Number 2, I had choosing not to commit to a woman can create drama and get criticism, even if the man hasn't done anything wrong. So men do what women suggest. Tell women what you want and tell them what up front and be transparent and be honest and all this type of stuff. All that, a man can do all those things and will still get the wrath of a heartbroken woman or be viewed negatively if it don't result in a relationship. If for any reason he decides that he does not want to be in a committed relationship with that woman, it can come with the blame game, the victimology, the woman painting herself as a victim, etc., simply because he didn't do what the woman wanted him to do. That was the only list that I couldn't come up with 3, 4. I only came up with 2 things to portray the negative of the guy's dating perspective. Because for the most part, the dating world today is set up for guys that have their shit together to be successful. You have more opportunities and means to meet women, to have private conversations with women, to be able to see eye candy and attractive women every single day. You know what I mean? Like to be able to learn and gather information about women in your city or women that went to your school, or just different women in different subcategories. Right. So for a man that's putting any amount of effort into dating, you should be able to experience some level of success. Because
absolutely, and definitely like you said, there's more. You have more access to it, especially with all the dating apps. So it gives you more access to plenty of women from your local area, or at least within, say, a 20-mile radius here.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that people can use to at least for guys anyway. Women,
right?
Dating is difficult from a female perspective, but there are things women can do that give them a higher percentage of having success with their dating experiences, because they have a limited number of men that they gonna meet that they actually like, that got the credentials that they want. So from a female perspective, it would make sense. You don't want to be doing things that get you cut off. You don't want to be doing things that conflict with the kind of men that you want to marry. You don't want to conflict with the husband, father material man with your approach to dating or your view on bills or etc. So those are the type of things that if women can eliminate the things that are known to create problems, known to conflict with those kind of men, then essentially they're giving themselves a better chance at success. So looks like we are up against the clock, man. I wanted to do some rituals. I wanted to give a shout out to Brother Soul Productions for the audio for the show. He hooked us up with a couple of beats we can use for our audio. So big shout out to the homie. Big shout out to you, Jay, for linking up with me. We got to do a lot of coordination to get these podcasts together.
Definitely.
So I wanted to put this episode in the books. Looking forward to releasing it, and hopefully we'll be able to help some people put their dating experiences on the right path. This has been another episode of the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.